So, I like that horse girl game now. To put it simply, Umamusume Pretty Derby is a game where you train your horse girls, or Umamusume, to become professional racers. I've already become a fan of quite a few of the characters, and what I think is really cool about Umamusume's characters is that all of the playable characters are actually based on real-life Japanese racehorses. In fact, the developers of Umamusume had to seek out permission from the owners of the actual horses in order to include said horse in the franchise, and some of the owners had the final say when it came down to the personality and design of their horses' in-game counterpart. A lot of the characters in the game have relationships with other characters that reflect the relationships between the real-life horses. For example, if there's a character that really looks up to another, then there is probably a parental relationship between the real horses, with the child looking up to the parent. Another instance is that sibling relationships between horses are only recognised if the two horses share the same mother. I thought that this was a little strange, because why not recognise half-siblings on the father side as well? And then I realised that if they did do that, everyone would be siblings. Though that's an exaggeration. Or is it? Horse racing is a pretty prestigious sport, in the UK anyway. Since it's so prestigious, horse breeding is a massive factor, because owners want bloodlines of strong racehorses. As such, a lot of racehorses around the world are related to each other, and the same goes for Japanese horses represented in Umamusume. Actually, another YouTuber has already mapped out the family trees of many of the characters. Go watch his video if you haven't already, since I've basically quote-unquote borrowed his idea. However, he only covered some of the characters, not all. Umamusume has around 130 characters in the Japanese server, which is a lot. But also, this got me thinking, what if every single horse represented in Umamusume is related? And the answer is, they are. Unlike the original guy, I am not a biologist. My only credentials are making a family tree in one of those family tree websites, and also just being quite interested in genealogy. And honestly, tracing everyone back to a single common ancestor wasn't too difficult. It took maybe a whole day and a bit, and a lot of paper. And I basically just got a tier list of every character and just crossed them off as I went through them all. I used a website called JBIS Search, where you can basically type up the name of a horse and then it shows you its pedigree. Some horses were a lot more difficult to trace back than others, but once you see a name appear multiple times, you start to realise that a common ancestor may be more common than you might think. So much so that I managed to find the one single horse that every single Umamusume horse descends from. So, here's what I found. Well, so as you can see, it's very long. I'll just show you. Yeah, it takes up an entire room. So because it's so long, I'm going to try and just get straight to it. I don't want to waffle for too long, otherwise we're going to be here all day. But just ignore the entire left-hand side for now. We'll get to it at the end. But we're just going to start with the very first ancestor and everyone's common ancestor, Faros. And Faros has a son called Nico. And Nico is the ancestor of probably 99.9% of the characters in Umamusume, bar one, and we'll get to them at the end. So, Nico has 3 sons that we need to worry about, and the first one we're going to talk about is Nazilla. And I originally thought that Nazilla was going to be the final boss of Umamusume, because as I was checking everyone's lineage, he came up the most. But then I realised that his 2 brothers are just as bad, and one of them is particularly bad. Yeah, so let's just get to it. So all of these stallions breed multiple times. So Nazilla and Lalun have Neverbend, and Neverbend is a pretty significant one, because with Milan Mill we have Milreef. Milreef and Altesse Royale has Magnitude, who breeds with Katsumieka, and we get Mihono Bourbon. So that's our very first Umamusume, and we've got a lot more to go. So Milreef also breeds with Miss Charisma to have Mill George, who breeds with Tato Yashima to have Inari 1. But Mill George also breeds with Sweet Anglet to have Sister Mill. And Sister Mill breeds with Sheriff Star to have Seiyun Sky. Let's go all the way back to Mill Reef. And Mill Reef also breeds with Irish Lass to have Mill Princess, who breeds with Try My Best to have Last Tycoon, who breeds with Flame of Tara to have Marju, who breeds with Draconda to have Sotono Crown. Going all the way back to Neverbend. Neverbend also breeds with River Lady, and River Lady has Riverman, who breeds with Dahlia to have Revelia, to have Taishin Lily, to Narita Taishin. Back to Neverbend for a final time. We go all the way over here to Princess Vega, and we get Lady Bend Vega, who breeds with Stutz Blackhawk to have KS Miracle. And that brings us to the end of Neverbend, but we are nowhere near finished with this, let me tell you now. So we'll go back to Neverbend's father, Nazrilla. Now, Nazrilla is going to breed with Segula, and they have Nashua together, and Nashua breeds with Sequence to have Gold Digger. Gold Digger breeds with Razor Nature to have Mr. Prospector, who's actually in quite a few of the lineages, but I just didn't put him down because I think I just discovered him far too late for me to actually add him on to everyone. But anyway, so Mr. Prospector breeds with Con Game to have Seeking the Gold, who breeds with Page Proof, and they have Seeking the Pearl. Mr. Prospector, again, will also breed with Miesk to have King Mambo, not Mambo, King Mambo, different horse. King Mambo breeds with Man Fath to have King Kamehameha. That's great. And then King Kamehameha breeds with Madam Checkery to have Hoko Tarumai. And King Mambo is also going to breed with Allegretta to have King's Best, who breeds with Moon Lady to have Asian Flash. Now, there's actually 2 Asian Flashes that I found on the database, so I actually had to check that this was the correct one. So, yeah. Right, back to Nazrilla. You know the drill. Nazrilla. And Nazrilla's next mate is going to be Spring Run. So Spring Run, and they have Red God. And Red God breeds with Runaway Bride to have Blushing Groom. Blushing Groom breeds with I Will Follow to have Rainbow Quest, who breeds with Lola Lola to have Sakura Laurel. But Blushing Groom also breeds with Yamahoyu to have Yamanin Policy. Hang on, let me just... Yamanin Policy breeds with Nihon Pillow Winner to have Yamanin Zephyr. And now we're going back to Nazrilla. Yeah, all the way back. We can't see him anymore, he's gone. But anyway, Nazrilla breeds with Blue Gem to have Princely Gift. Now, Princely Gift does show up quite a few times. So, first of all, Princely Gift is going to breed with Aquaria to have King's Troop, who breeds with Rising Hope to have Boise Boy, who breeds with Tanino Venture to have Katsuragi Ace. But Princely Gift, again, breeds with Suncourt to have Tesco Boy, and we're going to get to some very common stallions in a minute. So Tesco Boy breeds with Mutsumi Pearl to have Tesco Pearl, who breeds with Seahawk, and we get Ines Fujin. But Tesco Boy also breeds with Star Rock to have Rock Tesco, who breeds with Maruzensky to have Powerful Lady, who breeds with a very common stallion and my arch nemesis, Tony Bin. And Tony Bin and Powerful Lady have Winning Ticket. You're going to see them again, by the way. But anyway, other than Star Rock, Tesco Boy also breeds with Social Butterfly, and they have Tosho Boy, who's also extremely common. So Tosho Boy breeds with Hagino Top Lady to have Daichi Ruby, also breeds with Marble Tosho to have Samantha Tosho, who breeds with Dancing Brave to have Tabitha Tosho, who breeds with End Sweep, and then we get Sweep Tosho. Tosho Boy also breeds with CB Queen to have Mr. CB, and also breeds with Grey Tosho to have Athena Tosho, who breeds with Crystal Glitters to have Batikana Fukukitaru. Tesco Boy breeds again, but this time with Angelica. And Angelica has Sakura Yutaka O, who breeds with Fatima, who has Yukino Bijin. And this is also Sakura Bakshino's dad. but I didn't include Sakura Bakshino for some reason. And that would also have me include Kitasan Black, who is Sakura Bakshino's grandson. But we'll get to them in a minute, I promise. But we're going back to Nazilla again. I'm not getting that out. We're going back to Nazilla, trust me, take my word for it. And we get Kong. And Kong has Grey Sovereign, who is also very, very important. So Sovereign breeds with Croft Lady to have Merry Madcap, and you can tell who the next Umamusume is going to be by the cap. Merry Madcap breeds with Native Dancer to have Dancing Cap, who breeds with White Narubi to have Augury Cap. I didn't think Augury Cap would be that easy to trace back, but he actually was. So, other than Croft Lady, Grey Sovereign breeds with Ranavalo to have Fortino, and Fortino breeds with Zuisho to have CB Cross, who breeds with Green Chateau, and we get Tamamo Cross. But Fortino also breeds with Shirini to have Shirinella, and Shirinella breeds with Partholon, who we'll also talk about probably at the end, to have Sakura Shori. And Sakura Shori breeds with Shinichi Okan to have Samson Big. Right, we're going back to Grey Sovereign, who is going to breed with Baretta, who has Zedan. And Zedan breeds with Kairinissa to have Calamon, who breeds with State Pension. And they have Kampala, who breeds with Severn Bridge to have Tony Bin, and this is where we get Tony Bin. Tony Bin has a shit ton of kids. Tony Bin breeds with CinemaScope to have Transcend. He breeds with Shadow Flight to have North Flight. Dance Charmer to have Jungle Pocket, and surprisingly for me actually, Jungle Pocket breeds with Every Whisper to have Tosen Jordan. So other than Dance Charmer, Tony Bin is also going to breed with That's My Pal to have Royce and Royce. And again, breeds with Sakura Claire to have Sakura Chitaseto. And that's not all of Tony Bin's kids, but that's all it's going to be for now because we're going to get back to him later on. So let's continue. I say let's continue, but we're actually done with Nazilla. So now we're going to move on to Nazrilla's siblings. So we'll go back to Nick. I'm not going all the way back, but we're going back to Nirko. And Nirko also breeds with Kong to have Nimbus. And Nimbus breeds with Yashima Temple to have Nimbus Bamboo, who breeds with Mubaris to have Madonna Bamboo, who breeds with Morning Frolic to have Bamboo Memory. I know I said that we're only going to talk about 3 of Nirko's kids at the start of the video, but this is the only time we actually have to talk about Nimbus because the only important Umamusume that we have is Bamboo Memory. So we're moving on straight to Nirko's kid with Lady Angela. And you can already notice that Northern Dancer is right there. So we're going to be here for a long time. So Nirko, Lady Angela have Nearctic, and who breeds with Natalama. And we get Northern Dancer, who is very, very important. Northern Dancer breeds with Lady Victoria to have Northern Taste, who is also very, very important. Northern Taste breeds with Cripsy to have Mambo or Matikane Tannhauser. And other than Crispy, Northern Taste also breeds with Claire Bridge. Again, we already know who Claire Bridge is, who has Sakura Claire, who breeds with Tony Bin. And we get Sakura Chitaseto. Other than Claire Bridge, Northern Taste also breeds with Royal Sash, and we're getting to quite a big one here, right? Royal Sash has Dynasash, who has 2 kids with Dictus. So we're going to start with the first one, Soccer Boy, who breeds with Floral Magic to have Narita Top Road, and Soccer Boy also breeds with Shunsaku Yoshiko to have Hishi Miracle. But we'll go back to Dynasash and Dictus because they have a daughter called Golden Sash. And Golden Sash breeds with the absolutely infamous and one of the other banes of my existence, Sunday Silence, to have the infamous terrorist of the track, Stay Gold. And Stay Gold obviously breeds with Dear Wink to have Nakayama Festa, also breeds with Oriental Art to have Dream Journey and Orfevre. Orfevre breeds with Lilacs and Lace to have Lucky Lilac. Now Oriental Art is the daughter of Majoro McQueen and Electro Art, but also Majoro McQueen's other daughter is Point Flag, who is the daughter of Pastoralism. Pastoralism as Point Flag and Stay Gold have Gold Ship, and Della Roche and Stay Gold have Phenomeno. It's also important to note that Electro Art's mother is Grandma Stevens, who did breed with Northern Taste, so Electro Art is Northern Taste's daughter. That makes Oriental Art his granddaughter. So Orfevre, Dream Journey, Lucky Lilac can also go back to Northern Taste. Right, moving on. Other than Grandma Stevens, Northern Taste breeds with Shadow Feather to have Dinah Carl, who breeds with Tony Bin, and they get Air Groove. But Air Groove's also quite old, and she breeds with Sunday Silence to have Admire Groove, who breeds with King Kamehameha, and they have Duramente. Go back to Northern Taste, and other than Shadow Feather, we also have Clear Amber. And Clear Amber, again, has multiple kids. But first we're going to talk about Sakura Hagoromo, who breeds with Sakura Itakao, and we get Sakura Bakshino. Sakura Bakshino breeds with Otome Gokuro to have Sugar Heart, who breeds with Black Tide to have Kitasan Black. But again, Clear Amber and Northern Taste have another child, Amber Shaddai, who breeds with Mejiro Chaser, and they have Mejiro Ryan. Mejiro Ryan breeds with Mejiro Beauty to have Mejiro Dopa, and he also breeds with Reru de Tompt to have Mejiro Bright. And we'll go back to Northern Taste, and Northern Taste also breeds with Lily of the Nile, who has Aswan, who breeds with Mejiro Hiryu to have Mejiro Arden. And Northern Taste is also going to breed with Nice Landing, who has Dinah Landing, who also breeds with Dictus, and we have Echinodictus. Northern Taste again breeds with Mrs. McCarty to have Admire McCarty, who breeds with Cosine to have Admire Cosine, and he, I don't know if it's a mare or a stallion, I can't remember, but Admire Cosine breeds with Rustling Cops to have Aston Machan. And with Aston Machan, we are done with Northern Taste, but we are nowhere near done with his dad, Northern Dancer, because Northern Dancer is going to breed with Flaming Page, and they have two kids who are very, very important, especially one of them. But first we're going to talk about the less important one, who is Minsky, who breeds with Katsu Hagoromo to have Benibana Bizen, who breeds with Dandy Loot, and they have Bizen Nishiki, who breeds with Never Ichiban, and they have Daitaku Helios. But we're going to go back to Flaming Page and Northern Dancer because their other child is Nijinsky, who is very important again. So Nijinsky breeds with Fast Approach to have First Fling, who breeds with Affirmed, and they have Princess Rima, who breeds with Big Stone to have Meisho Dotto. But Nijinsky also breeds with Unmentionable, and they have Yamaniski, who breeds with Surumi Star, and they have Yaino Muteki. Nijinsky, again, is going to breed with Sovereign, and they have Lucky Sovereign, who breeds with Peerless Lady to have Heroine, and Nipoteo have Haru Urara. And Nijinsky also breeds with Green Valley to have Green Dancer, who breeds with No Nanette, who have No Attention, who breeds with Nice Day to have Super Creek. But most importantly, Nijinsky is going to breed with Shill. And Shill and Nijinsky have Maruzensky, the supercar himself. So Maruzensky is going to breed with Lady Shiroki to have Campaign Girl, who breeds with Sunday Silence, and we get Special Week. Now Special Week breeds with Biwa Heidi to have Buena Vista, but he also breeds with Kirov Premier to have Cesario. And Cesario, which I was shocked to find this out, Cesario breeds with Symboli Chris S to have Epiphania. And Epiphania and Daring Bird breed together to have Daring Tact. So that's very interesting. I had no idea Epiphania was related to Special Week, but here we are. So we'll go back to Lady Shiroki, we'll go back to Maruzensky, and Maruzensky breeds with Senshu Takara. And they have Kazumi Harukoma, who again breeds with Tony Bin, and they have Spring Ticket, who breeds with Kurofune, and they have Karen-chan. Now Maruzensky is also going to breed with Sakura Sedan to have Sakura Chiyono O, and he's also going to breed with Roch Tesco. And they have Powerful Lady, who again breeds with Tony Bin, then we get Winning Ticket. We've already been through Winning Ticket. Now Maruzensky is also going to breed with Kuri Katsura, and we have Lilac Point, who breeds with Real Shaddai, and we have Rice Shower. And is that it for Maruzensky? That's it for Maruzensky. So that's the end of Maruzensky, and Northern Dancer is now going to breed with Special. And they have Nureyev, who breeds with Tree of Knowledge, who have Theatrical, who breeds with Katie's, and they have Hishi Amazon. Northern Dancer also breeds with Pacific Princess, and they have Pacificus, who breeds with Brian's time to have Narita Brian, but she also breeds with Sharud to have Biwa Hayahide. And we're going to go again. Northern Dancer breeds with All Rainbows to have All Dance, who breeds with Pleasant Tap to have Tap Dance City. Northern Dancer breeds with South Ocean to have Stormbird, who breeds with Weekend Surprise. And they have Summer Squall, who breeds with Barley Babe. They have Charismatic, who breeds with Wonder Heritage, and they have Wonder Acute. Let's go all the way back again. Northern Dancer breeds with Victoria Regina, and they have Rice Regal, who breeds with Italian City, and we get Gold City. Northern Dancer breeds with Two Rings. We have Northern Baby, who breeds with Splendid Girl, and they have Thrill Show, who breeds with Toco Bolero, and we have El Condor Pasa. Go back, Northern Dancer again, Nice Princess. Nice Princess and Northern Dancer have Nice Dancer, and who breeds with Urakawa Miyuki, and they have Nice Nature. Northern Dancer also breeds with Drum Top, who has Top Cider, who breeds with Passerine, who have Dulab, who breeds with Rose Commander, and they have Shinko Windy. We're going to talk about another one of Northern Dancer's significant children, because Northern Dancer breeds with Padinom, or Pastinom, I don't know how to pronounce it, and they have Danzig. Now, as a side note, if you guys know of the horse called Skibbity Riz, Danzig is actually Skibbity Rig's ancestor, so Skibbity Riz is actually related to every single Umamusume horse. So Danzig breeds with Graceful Touch, and they have Ameri Flora, who breeds with Silverhawk, and they have Grass Wonder. So Danzig also breeds with Raizana to have Dane Hill, who breeds with Cocotte, and they have Fine Motion. Danzig, Fabulous Fraud, Duplicit, who breeds with Majestic Light, and they have Nishino Flower. Danzig and Impetuous Girl have Daring Danzig, who breeds with Sunday Silence, to have Daring Heart, who breeds with King Kamehameha, who has Daring Bird, who breeds with Epiphania, and they have Daring Tact. Danzig, Six Crowns, and they have Chief's Crown, who breeds with Alliance, and they have Chansey Squaw, who breeds with Crafty Prospector, and then we have Agnes Digital. Danzig, one more time, breeds with Condessa, and they have Biko Pegasus. But let's now go back to Northern Dancer yet again, who breeds with Ferry Bridge, and they have Sadler's Wells. Sadler's Wells breeds with Colour Spin to have Opera House, who breeds with Once Wed, and we have TM Opera O. Northern Dancer also breeds with Goofed, and this is also quite an important one because we have Lifeard. And Lifeard is going to breed with No Luck, and they have two kids together. But first of all, we're going to talk about Mogami, who breeds with Sweet Epsom to have Sirius Symboli, and Mogami also breeds with Major Hiryu, and they have Meijiro Ramonu. So Meijiro Ramonu and Meijiro Arden are actually half siblings. But anyway, No Luck and Lifeard, their other child is Princess Lifeard. And Princess Lifeard breeds with Gay Mercine. And they have Meijiro Fantasy, who breeds with Meijiro Eagle, and then we get Meijiro Palmer. Moving on from Lifeard and No Luck, Lifeard breeds with Godzilla. And Godzilla and Lifeard have Fidilla, who breeds with Seattle Slew to have Mysteries, who breeds with Woodman to have Hishi Akabono, the tallest Umamusume in the game. So I guess it's only fitting that his ancestor was Godzilla. So, other than Godzilla, Lifeard is also going to breed with Riverside to have Lyra Ridge. Lyra Ridge and Racing Gene have Twin Turbo. So Lifeard again breeds with Navajo Princess to have Dancing Brave, who breeds with Goodbye Halo to have King Halo. Let me just move this real quick, I'm really sorry. So King Halo and Takano Secretary have Kawakami Princess. So Kawakami Princess and King Halo are father and daughter, which is also very cute. But also with Navajo Princess, we still get Dancing Brave. But Dancing Brave also breeds with Samantha Tosho to have Tabitha Tosho, and then we get Sweep, and then we get Sweep Tosho. We've already been through this, but it's nice to just show it again, right? So anyway, back to Lifeard. Lifeard breeds with Clasia, and they have Lifeyor, who breeds with Chiyoda Masako to have Nippoteo, who breeds with Heroine to have Haru Urara. So she's also back. And we're done with Lifeard, finally. But that also means we're done with Northern Dancer, and we're done with Nearctic. So we're on to Nirko's fourth child, and this is the most important one because it's long. So let's go back. So Nico breeds with Sun Princess and we get Royal Charger, right? Royal Charger and Skirweather, that says Skirweather, I just made a mistake, have Royal Challenger, and Royal Challenger breeds with Sweet Int to have Speed Symboli, who breeds with Dance Time to have Sweet Luna, who breeds with Partholon, remember him, and they have Symboli Rudolph. Now Symboli Rudolph breeds with Tokai Natural to have Tokai Teo, but he also breeds with, what's that say, hang on, Sweet Cider to have Tsurumaru Tsuyoshi. But now we go back to Royal Charger, who's going to breed with Saucicree. And Saucicree and Royal Charger have turn 2. Now this is the more important one. Turn 2 and no third chance have Hail to Reason. Right, Hail to Reason, first of all, breeds with Bramlea and they have Roberto. So Roberto and Sharp Queen have Chris S, who breeds with TK, then we get Symboli Chris S, and then he breeds with Cesario to have Epiphania, Daring Bird, Daring Tact. We've already been through this, and we're going to go through it again later on. But anyway, Roberto breeds with Desert Vixen to have Real Shaddai, who breeds with Lilac Pointer, we get Rice Shower again. But Roberto also breeds with Greed Vitesse, and they have Silverhawk, who breeds with a Merry Flora, then we get Grass Wonder. But Roberto breeds with Where You Lead to have Slightly Dangerous, who breeds with Known Fact to have Warning, which I love the naming scheme. Warning breeds with Oshima Lucia to have Cowstone Light O. We'll go back. Roberto and Kelly's Day have Brian's Time. Brian's Time breeds with Alp Me Please, and they have Mayano Top Gun. Brian's Time, Pacificus, Narrative Brian. Brian's Time, Tanino Crystal has Tanino Gimlet. Tanino Gimlet breeds with Tanino Sister to have Vodka. Back to Brian's Time, and we get he breeds with Into Pyrenees, and they have Dansu Flame. Brian's Time also breeds with Fursa to have Furioso, and he also breeds with Ambrosine to have No Reason. So we're done with Brian's Time, and that means we are also done with Roberto, but we are not done with Hail to Reason, because Hail to Reason is also going to breed with Cosma, and they have the most important of them all, Halo. Now we're at Halo, I think it's very nice to reassure you that we are almost done. We are over halfway through, but we're back to Halo. Halo breeds with Blade, they have Devil's Bag, and he breeds with Welsh Muffin, and they have Taiki Shuttle. Halo breeds with Pound Foolish to have Goodbye Halo, who breeds with Dancing Brave to have King Halo, who breeds with Takado Secretary to have Kawakami Princess. But other than Pound Foolish, Halo is going to breed with Wishing Well, and then we have Sunday Silence. So we're nearly done, guys. We're nearly done. Sunday Silence breeds with Campaign Girl. They have Special Week. We all know the drill, right? Special Week, Be With Heidi, Buena Vista. Special Week, Kirov Premier, Cesario, Symboli Chris S, Epiphania, Daring Bird, Daring Tact. Again, we'll go back to Sunday Silence, and another familiar one. Sunday Silence breeds with Golden Sash to have Stay Gold, Dear Wink, Nake Amethysta, Stay Gold, Point Flag, Gold Ship, Stay Gold, Oriental Art, Dream Journey, and Orfevre, Lilacs and Lace, Lucky Lilac, Stay Gold, Delaroche, Phenomeno. Right? Sunday Silence. Go back to Sunday Silence. And Mill Racer have Fuji Kiseki. Fuji Kiseki breeds of Elatus to have Tsurumaru Glamour, who breeds of King Kamehameha yet again to have Tsurumaru One Piece, who breeds with Harbinger, and we get Blast One Piece. Sunday Silence, Sawayaka Princess, Durandal. Sunday Silence, Bubble Company, Bubblegum Fellow. Sunday Silence, Rustic Bell, in this unison, who breeds with Corophane, again, we've also seen him before, who has Chronologist, who breeds with Bago, and they have Chronogenesis. Sunday Silence, Great Christine, Believe. Sunday Silence, Irish Dance, Heart's Cry, who breeds with Super Ballerina to have Wind Variation, but also breeds with How Was Sweet to have Chagall Grant. Sunday Silence, Lotta Lace, Fusaichi Pandora, who breeds with Lord Kanaloa to have Almond Eye. Sunday Silence breeds with Dinoshute to have Must Be Loved, breeds with End Sweep, who's also Sweep Tosho's dad, to have Rhinecraft. Sunday Silence and Air Groove, also, we've already seen this, they have Admire Groove, who breeds with King Kamehameha to have Duramente. Sunday Silence and Wakia, Silence Suzuka. Sunday Silence and Agnes Flora, Agnes Tachyon, who breeds with Scarlet Bouquet, and they have Daiwa Scarlet. Sunday Silence, Subtle Change, Manhattan Cafe. Sunday Silence, Roman Rachel, Zeno Rob Roy. Sunday Silence, Pointed Path, Neo Universe, who breeds with First Violin to have Sounds of Earth. Sunday Silence, Nikia, and they have Gold Allure, who breeds with Ken Shu Herb, and they have Smart Falcon, breeds with, Gold Allure, Eminent City, Espoir City, Gold Allure, Copper no Nikita, Copper no Ricky. Sunday Silence and I Dreamed a Dream have Air Shaker. Sunday Silence and Vega have Admire Vega. Sunday Silence and Bradamont have Still in Love. Sunday Silence, Air Deja Vu, Air Messiah. Sunday Silence, Momiji Dancer, Marvelous Sunday. Sunday Silence, Daring Danzig, Daring Heart. King Kamehameha, Daring Bird, Epiphania, Daring Tat, we know this. Sunday Silence, Wind in Her Hair. Right, they have two kids. So the first one is Black Tide, who is Kitasan Black's father. But the more important one is Deep Impact. Right, last leg, come on. Deep Impact, Donna Blini, Gentle Donna. Deep Impact, How Was Sweet, Vivlos and Versina. So that also means Cheryl Grand is actually their sister, or half-sister in real life, but they are sisters in Umamusume. Deep Impact, Malpensa, Satino Diamond. Deep Impact, Tapits Fly, Granalegria. Deep Impact, Loves Only Me, Loves Only You. Deep Impact, Solaria, Curran Bouquet Door. And we're done. Except we're not. So as you can see, we are back to the very beginning. We are at Nearco. And you may remember at the start of this very lengthy video, I said that I managed to trace every Umamusume back to Nearco, bar one. And you may have already figured out who this horse is. And I have to say, this really did surprise me. This was one of the horses that I least expected to have any difficulty with. I expected to have more difficulty with like Seeking the Pearl, Taiki Shuttle, El Condor Pasa because they're all American. But no, the horse that I actually had the most trouble with connecting back to everyone else is actually Major McQueen. But I managed to do it. I went all the way back, and Major McQueen is related to absolutely everyone, albeit distantly compared to everyone else. So let's go to Nearco, and we're actually going past Nearco to his dad Faros, because Faros also breeds with Karistuma, and they have Faris, who is the important one here. Faris breeds with Calonis, and they have Paleo, and Paleo breeds with Milesian to have Partholon, who is also very important. I said we were going to talk about Partholon here, and here we are. But first of all, Partholon breeds with Sweet 16 to have Major Asima, who breeds with Cheryl to have Major Titan, who breeds with Major Aurora, and that's how we get Major McQueen. And obviously we have Pastoralism, Point Flag, Stay Gold, Gold Ship, Oriental Arts, Dream Journey, Orfevre, Lucky Lilac, Electro Arts also there. But Major McQueen is more like closely related to some other Umamusume, or just horses in general, let's be honest. So back to Major McQueen's great-grandfather, which is Partholon. If you guys remember, Partholon is actually Symboli Rudolph's dad. So that makes Major McQueen quite closely related to Symboli Rudolph, and also as a result Tokai Teo and Tsurumaru Tsuyoshi. But also, Cheryl, Major McQueen's grandma, also breeds with Major Salmon, then we get Major Chaser, Major Orion, and then we get Bright and Doba, who are Major Orion's kids. And that's it. We're done. We are done. Therefore, I have proved that every single Umamusume's in real life counterpart is actually related. That's I'm pretty sure that is every single playable Umamusume, also including Speed Symboli. But we're done. Thank God.